What's good, YouTube? It's HenryTheYoungin. We back with another video. Today we got another reaction, and we are doing part 2 to renting from a Slumlord part 2. I said part 2 twice, but yeah, we're doing part 2. You guys killed it on the last video. You guys got over 10 likes, and I was supposed to get this video out a couple days ago, but there was like some technical difficulties. As you can see, I got a new headset. And yeah, so we're about to react to this video, get right into it. Hopefully something good happens and my man Saga can get a new house. If you guys did not see part 1, make sure to click down below in the description right now, go watch that part 1. It was a great video, and I also discussed why me and this creator right here, Saga the Youngin, we both have the same name. You know, I kind of got inspiration from him, but yeah. Yeah, let's just hop straight into this video. Let's go.
Alright, so if you're coming from part 1, so we leave that situation expeditiously, and obviously we're like, bro, no way we could rent from these people. Not if the rent was negative, not if they paid us to rent from them. In fact, I might need therapy right now just to be able to scroll through Zillow again. And here's what's crazy. As she was driving us back to the office, she's saying how the next step is to complete a credit check, and then after that you'll hear from us in 3 to 5 business days. I'm like, the next step? The next step is away from you. We all just get in our cars as fast as possible and drive out of there. And we all go somewhere to eat afterwards. And so we're at dinner. You know, the past couple hours have felt like a fever dream.
So if y'all don't know what happened, basically you were trying to buy a house, and it kind of got like, the house that they saw was like just completely messed up. The last people that lived in there just like completely wrecked it. And there was like poop on the walls, rice on the ground, just a whole mess
between everything that's happened. But we eat, and after we finish eating, we immediately start looking for another place because we were starting to run out of days before we needed to find somewhere. So we're back to the drawing board. We're like, yeah, hit that minimum rent filter and raise it up just a tad. Get rid of all the murder fun houses. And the thing with that company is we start seeing their name on other listings. They had multiple houses all over the city. So now we're having to double check every rental to see who listed it. Zillow turned into a minefield all of a sudden. So we're looking for the next best option when we come across another place that seemed like a good deal, and this one looked promising. And I know we said that about the last one, but this one we really thought could be the one. So we go through the same process as before. We call their office, and this time they tell us just to meet them directly at the house for the tour. So the next day, we all show up at the house, and this guy meets us there who introduced himself as somebody that worked for the owners of the house, who he said were this elderly husband and wife. So he lets us into the house, and it was actually, you know, free of rice, no boarded up windows. The house was very old though. I don't think not one singular piece of anything in that place had been changed out or updated from the original house 60 years ago. And nothing was physically dirty, but all of the finishes were so old, there were just kind of stains from wear and tear ingrained into everything. The floors, walls, sinks, everything. But really, the house itself was fine. You know, it was a good tour. House was good. The only thing that was slightly off was this guy who worked for the owners. This dude was a character. The best way I could describe him, I want you to imagine if Saul Goodman was a real estate agent. That was the guy who showed up for our tour. And I knew I was right about him when months later, we would actually catch bro in the middle of some tomfoolery when, on multiple occasions actually, we saw him just camping outside of our house in his car, the same Chevy he pulled up in when he met us for the tour. We'd see him across the street through the windshield, just chilling, feet kicked up.
Nah, that's some stalker-ish, bro. Nah, bro. It ain't gonna lie, bro. If you seeing that way too much, call the cops. Just call the cops, bro. I don't care, bro. Something might be off with this dude that we don't know about.
And I don't know, was he spying on us, just checking in? Were the owners sending him on side missions to inspect our movements? One time was at like 11 p.m. too, so that was kind of interesting. But as of right now, all seemed well with the house. The tour was fine. The price was amazing. I think we paid $400 a month in rent each, which was a great deal for that area at the time. So boom, we signed the lease, and later that week they hand us the keys and the house was ours. So we move in, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think we did not one shred of decorating. The first thing we did, we found 2 couches online, threw them in the corner, and I actually made an older video about how months after we got those couches, somebody would later go on to steal our couch cushions. We washed off our couches one afternoon and left them out to dry, and while they were sitting in our front yard overnight, somebody came by and snatched the couch cushions but left behind the actual couch. Somebody legitimately hit a lick on our couch cushions. But for the time being, we had 2 fully intact couches. A couple days later, Ricky pulls up in his truck with a table in the back. He's like, yeah, I got a coffee table for the living room. I got a deal. It was free. I was like, free? He's like, yeah, I found it down the street in the alley. So boom, we threw that thing in there, and that was all we needed. That was home sweet home right there. We were chilling. Now, over the course of living there, the house wasn't the worst thing ever, although we most definitely did hit a couple of rough patches. Hey, that $400 a month rent wasn't gonna come without strings attached. The first one being the classic landlord special, the oldest trick in the book, which was all of the bug problems. And we didn't have it horrible, like we never had rats like the stories I've heard from New York. And by the way, I gotta go on a side tangent here, because I recently found out that over in New York, you guys just recently got trash bins in 2024. No wonder you guys have rats, bro. Just throwing bare garbage bags onto the road. Yeah, that's what would happen when you don't have trash bins. So you just turn the whole city into a trash bin. Financial capital of the world, by the way. But anyways, we never had rats, and we never had roaches either. And trust me, I wish I didn't, but I got roach stories from other places like you wouldn't believe. So stay tuned for a future video. But in this house, one thing we did have was 1,000,000,000,000 crickets. There was a cricket infestation like no other in that house.
Finally.
Sometimes you would walk into the living room, hit the lights, and see 10, 20, 30 of them hopping around. And look, I didn't want to have to do the crickets dirty, but there were so many of them, we'd have no choice. You would just have to get a shoe and start whacking. And you would not believe how loud it would get at night. I'm lying there trying to fall asleep. These crickets got me feeling like I'm in the enchanted forest. So every night, you'd have your nighttime routine. You would shower, brush your teeth, then set the AC, then kill all the crickets, and then go to bed. But there would always be those extra few that you would miss, because let 15 minutes go by and they would definitely let you know that you missed them. You're trying to sleep and all you can hear is some cricket yelling at the top of his lungs, apparently sharing very important news with the cricket community. And I know some of you are hearing this right now thinking about, wait a minute, that's kind of a vibe to fall asleep to the sound of crickets. I mean, they even got cricket sound videos to fall asleep to all over YouTube. But look, the crickets are cool for the first 3 days maybe, but it's not like you're really in the proper setting for that kind of thing, in the forest in a tent, and they're faintly off in the distance somewhere. That's cool, but see, it's completely different when there's 7 of them pinging off of each other all up and down your hallway. The charm disappears immediately. It's like Mother Nature gave you free tinnitus. And the other thing with these crickets is they would play mind games with you. They would. You'd be in your bed at night trying to sleep, and you'd think you hear one in the living room, so you get up to go find them, start walking down the hallway. But once you get to the living room, it starts sounding like, no, wait a minute, I think it's actually coming from the other end of the hallway I just came from. So you start walking back, and then halfway back down the hallway, you're like, no, wait a minute, it is. He's actually in the kitchen. And I would drive myself crazy trying to find these guys. I was really up at 2 a.m. trying to triangulate the location of a cricket. And our lack of furniture probably didn't help. Their chirps would just echo around the entire house even more. So we'd contact the landlord, or I guess this Saul Goodman guy that worked for the landlord, and we'd ask him to send out a company to do a spray, and they would love telling us that pest control was tenant responsibility. They love that phrase, tenant responsibility. You basically gotta stand outside these people's office with a megaphone before they'll do anything about it. We should have caught him outside on one of the multiple occasions we saw him camping out across the street is what we should have done. But eventually, after bothering them enough, they did send a guy through to spray. A few times they did, but it quickly became clear that the problem was way deeper than a pest spray. Because they would spray, things would die down for maybe a week, and then the replacements would arrive. The only thing that finally got them to go away was just when it turned winter and got cold. Except in Arizona, that takes about 10 weeks longer than anywhere else. That house, there were just too many cracks everywhere in that house. And probably...
I could not live in Arizona, bro. It's just too hot, bro. Like, it's way too hot to be living in like Arizona, bro. If I could live somewhere, I'd probably be like maybe like Texas or something, bro. Arizona is too hot, bro. Like, nah, man. Not trying to deal with all that heat. And I seen this one video, this one dude was walking and his shoes were literally melting. Like the bottom of his shoes were like melting, bro. I'm not living in Arizona, bro. Hell no.
Especially by the front door, because there were always crickets jumping around over there. I was always worried about the first impression people would get when they walked in and saw my 7 roommates hopping around. I'd be stressing out, hoping I wouldn't be caught on a bad day. I remember one time I was with a friend and I had to stop by the house to pick something up. I opened the door and there were immediately just a...
Nah. Imagine bringing the huzz over and there's just a bunch of crickets all over the place. Hell nah, bro. That's how you scare the huzz. That's literally how you scare the huzz, bro. You bring over a girl and there's a bunch of crickets everywhere. You gonna go tell all her friends, this nigga, he got crickets all over his crib. Like, yeah. They gotta do something, bro.
A colony of crickets bouncing around at our feet. I grabbed a broom to start sweeping them out the front door. I was just gonna start swinging on them. But then she got mad and pushed me away. She was like, wait, stop. And then knelt down and picked one of them up, talking about, look how cute the cricket is. She started petting him with her pointer finger. Kind of...
Yeah, so these are just one of those. They're one of those. The snow bunnies, those white Jones. That's what they do.
Gave me the heebie-jeebies. I was like, look, you don't want to hear about what happened to all of his cousins yesterday afternoon. But I remember the worst it ever got is this one night when this one cricket humiliated me so bad. So I'm chasing this cricket around my room, and this was a daily occurrence at this point. And that room had tile floors, but I always like carpet in my room. So way back when we first moved in, I went and got a roll of carpet and rolled it down over the tile. But the thing with this carpet, which I wish I knew when I bought it, is that these crickets blended in perfectly with it. It made them so difficult to see. I'd have to like hyper focus my vision, use 110% brain power just to track where they would move against the carpet. So on this night, I'm chasing this cricket around my room, losing him, then finding him again every other second. I feel like I'm in a Tom and Jerry episode. I'm jumping between stuff, over stuff. At which point, he hopped under my bed. But I'm on him, right? I jump across the room, fling up my mattress as fast as I can before I lose him. The one problem was I had this TV that was sitting on my nightstand right next to my bed, and the TV hung off the end of my nightstand by maybe a couple inches. So when I had pulled up the mattress, I flung it up so forcefully and it clipped the corner of the TV and it sent the TV flying, just flipped it over lengthwise through the air. I don't even know where it hit because I was so focused on finding this cricket, I didn't even notice what had happened with the TV until I heard the crash behind me. I turn around, the whole thing is cracked 1,000 different ways, and when I plugged it in, all I saw was purple and yellow and green. And the cricket was long gone by now. Played me like a
all that over a cricket, bro. All that over some cricket, bro. Damn.
fiddle. Probably couldn't wait to tell his cricket buddies how he bamboozled me. So the cricket war was not going well. We can't get rid of him. Now I'm down $400. Yeah, they got it. They got it. Another, you could say, interesting feature that this house came with was the washing machine situation. This washer that they had in there was, first of all, probably older than me. And this machine would make incredible noise. I'm not talking about how some washers bang around a little bit when they run. No, this was the loudest metal clanging, banging, hammering sound. You might as well have thrown pots and pans in there and run it on high speed. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The drum on the inside was so crooked and dented, it would just slam against the side of the machine on every single rotation, metal on metal. This machine was so scuffed, I don't know how it still ran. It did wash the clothes though, it got the job done, just very loudly. In fact, so loudly, we could not do laundry at night or in the morning because nobody in the house could sleep through it. And the worst part, just the cherry on top, was the washer and dryer were in the kitchen, right next to the sink. So even when we did do laundry during the day, you had to listen to what sounded like construction work while you cooked spaghetti. 10 out of 10 ambiance. So in this house, you got crickets screaming at each other, washer sounds like a jackhammer ringing down the hallways, the decibel levels were unbelievable. But by far the worst part of that house, and this was the real $400 rent special, which was the plumbing / bathroom / flooding situation. Now Ricky was the one that had the master bedroom, and he had his own bathroom in that room. And when we first moved in, this seemed like the nicest room in the house, right? The only one with a bathroom. That is, until we weren't even a month into the lease, when one night Ricky comes home to his entire bedroom flooded. Water everywhere. And it turned out the pipes in his bathroom had leaked or backed up or both, and they flooded his bathroom, which then flooded his bedroom. And he's lucky that he didn't have carpet on his floors, only tile, because over the course of living there, his bathroom would go on to flood again and again and again. And at first, the timing of the flooding, we couldn't figure it out. Every so often it would just happen. But we eventually realized it was related to when the hallway bathroom, which was on the other side of the wall, would be used. So the two bathrooms shared a wall where all the plumbing was, and I guess the plumbing was so old and rickety that if there was too much activity at once, the plumbing system would just fail. And plus, who knows what sorts of items have been clogged up in those pipes over the years. So say if one person used the hallway shower and then they brushed their teeth while Ricky was using his sink, oh, it was over. Ricky was getting flooded. And it wasn't always the massive flooding into his bedroom and everything. Sometimes it was just a little puddle over on his side, but he was still constantly getting flooded, having leaks, waking up to puddles in his bathroom. So what we would have to do, there were 3 bathrooms total in that house. So we would have to strategically space out the bathroom usages. Imagine having to be calculated about who uses which bathroom when. But the thing about the flooding, it was unpredictable because sometimes the pipes would decide to work for weeks or months straight without any problems. I mean, for example, we would have people over and there could be 5 people going in and out of that bathroom back to back to back, and everything would be fine. But then on the other hand, I remember one night I left the faucet on while I was brushing my teeth, and this man starts yelling through the wall from the other side. He's like, "Hey, turn it off. There's water everywhere." He's banging on the wall so loud, I thought his fist was gonna punch through the drywall. So we would have good stretches where we would go months without there being any issues at all. But then out of nowhere, boom, things would flood 3 days in a row. So I don't know, make it make sense. And during the good stretches, everybody would just kind of forget we even had problems and go about business as usual. So I remember one time when we were in the middle of one of these good stretches, we're not even thinking about the pipes. It had been, I think, a few months since we last had issues. We've been using the bathroom back to back to back. I'm taking 20-minute showers, no problems in sight. And the end of the week was coming up and we're all talking about what we were going to do over the weekend. And we're like, yeah, let's throw a house party this weekend. So we make a party flyer, send it out to a bunch of people, told those people to invite people. And Saturday night comes around and people start pouring in. It just didn't stop. That party flyer we made, I don't know who sent it to who, that sent it to someone else that put it on Craigslist or something. But there was way too many people that showed up to our house. And now that
Look, they're even hiring freelance tax experts on Fiverr.
Well, it probably works better than how we do our taxes here.
Now that I think back on it, it's a miracle that no crazy shenanigans went down with that many people in one place. I mean, there had to have been at least 150, 200 people at that house, with groups of people coming and going the entire night. And the house was decently big, so everybody could fit. It's not like we had much furniture inside anyways. But the night is continuing on, right? 10 o'clock, 11, midnight, 1 a.m. I remember I was somewhere in the kitchen, probably by the washer, and Ricky was right there nearby too, when our friend Fernando, he comes flying around the corner trying to push through everybody, looking kind of panicked. And he's trying to tell us something. He starts yelling over the crowd and the music. He's like, "Ricky, over by the bathroom line, they're saying there's a trail of water in the hallway pouring out from under a door. I think that's your room they're talking about." Ricky's like, "What? No, it can't be my room." But I'm not gonna lie, as soon as I heard the words water and bedroom door, I already knew. And Ricky definitely knew too, he was just in denial. So we start pushing our way through the crowd. Everyone is packed shoulder to shoulder down the entire hallway. We're trying to get through, and unfortunately, before we're even halfway down the hall, I was already seeing large puddles of water. So we get back to his bedroom door, and sure enough, there's just a slow trickle of water flowing out from under it. Ricky pulls out his keys. He's frantically trying to get the door open. He eventually gets his room unlocked, turns on the lights, and there was so much water everywhere. It was bad. Worse than it had ever been. I'm talking about wall-to-wall coverage. His furniture looked like little islands in the ocean. And he immediately turns around. Somebody was washing their hands at the sink or something. He starts yelling at everybody. He's like, "Hey, turn that sink off. Everybody get out of here." And like I said earlier, we had a third bathroom all the way on the other side of that house, so we had to lock up this bathroom ASAP and send the whole line to the other one. Now, we definitely had no business having that many people in the house with the condition of those pipes. I mean, it's a bad decision to have that many people in your house no matter how good your pipes are. But we hadn't had flooding problems in multiple months, so really, we thought we were in the clear. But as we found out, we were in fact not. I go to peek my head around the corner of his door, and this man legitimately had an actual mini river flowing out of his bathroom into his bedroom. He starts wading through the water. I'm like, "Whoa, careful, bro. Don't drown in the deep end." But yeah, it was just way too many people. Toilet flush after toilet flush, sink going non-stop for hours. That old little bathroom got overwhelmed. It couldn't handle it. But hey man, look, you can't let a little flood ruin the party. I remember he found every last spare blanket, towel, pillowcase that we had in that house. He even found a tablecloth somewhere, and we didn't even have a table. So I don't know where that came from. And he just threw it all right down on the floor to soak up everything. And he hit the lights, locked his door back up, and continued on with the night. And for how much of a mess there was, from what I remember, we got it cleaned up somewhat easily. The next day, we picked up all of those blankets and towels, hung them all up to dry, and then scrubbed and bleached all of the floors. And that next day, we tried using the bathroom again, and everything was perfectly fine. Wow. No leaky pipes, not a single drop. You wouldn't even know that bathroom had problems, at least until a month later when it all happened again. It's funny because way back when we first moved in, we were all arguing over who would get the master, and we just decided on whoever could get their stuff moved in first and claim the room could have it. I remember the day we got the house, I got off of work at like 2 p.m. I went straight to the house. I was about to put a flag down in there like it was the moon. So I show up to claim my room, and that man Ricky was already moved in, just chilling in the middle of the empty room with miscellaneous suitcases spread about, listening to music off a speaker like everything was peaches and cream. But fast forward a few weeks, and turns out that was not the win he thought it was. Now, with that house, I do know that the owners of the house, well, at one point we were told they lived in China, and another time we were told they lived right down the street. So, I'm not sure. It sounded like nobody really knew where they were. They might have just handed the house off to the Saul Goodman of real estate and left the grid. And I would not be surprised if that same exact house has all of those same exact problems to this day. But at least it wasn't the house from part 1. I mean, imagine if we ended up there. Who knows what this video would have been if that happened.
Hey man, if y'all enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. This was a banger. I really liked and enjoyed this video. Man, I'm just glad that they got a new house. I don't think they even live there anymore though. But, you know, great video. Yeah, we'll see y'all in the next video. I'm definitely gonna get another reaction going. I just started winter break too, so gonna have a lot of more free time. And yeah, so with that being said, Henry the Youngin